Vietnam is in a pretty good position in 2024. We have a situation where interest rates are rather low. GDP continues to grow. We believe it's going to grow between 6 to 7% this year. And already you're seeing exports coming in quite strongly. We're having a revival of what we call exports for made in Vietnam goods, particularly to places like the United States and Europe. So overall, I think the liquidity situation is very strong in Vietnam. A lot of people have money and they're ready to invest domestically, and interest rates being low. I think they're ready to look at some of the opportunities available, whether it's in capital assets or real estates or the stock market. So I think 2024 is a relatively good year for Vietnam.
All right, so the macro is looking good, as what you're saying. And when you sort of break it down, the individual drivers, consumers looking strong. You note you've got exports likely to boost GDP as well. Manufacturing, too. What about real estate, though? How much of a drag could that be still?
Yeah, you're right. Real estate was a drag in 2023. Has a lot to do with the inability for real estate developers to raise capital, whether it's in the debt market or the equity market. And we hope that in 2024, with the lower interest rate, particularly on the deposit side and on the lending side for that matter, developers will be able to borrow more easily, to access liquidity more easily. And further to that, the Vietnam government just passed the last of the 3 laws related to real estate, the land law, that should provide some consistencies throughout the regulatory systems to allow for projects to be approved much quicker in the coming year.
Andy, this is JP Ong. Staying with the real estate sector in Vietnam, and there's been a lot of attention, for better or worse, towards this particular space. There are questions as to whether or not these property developers are actually on steady ground. We've also heard of the issues surrounding VinaCapital and the legal issues that they say could involve investment to the tune of 3% of GDP. Again, based on what you're seeing, just how healthy are some of these developers out in Vietnam? And is there a concern that perhaps there could be potential contagion should we start to see one of these property developers perhaps wobble over the next 12 months?
Yeah, I guess when you have a situation where it's harder to access liquidity or raise capital, it tends to be harder to do developments in a particular place like Vietnam. But I think most of the big picture is that we do have strong demand on the real estate side. So whatever the developers can build, and they will be able to sell. That's the demand side is there. The supply is a bit weaker, particularly on the low to mid-end size. The key here is to get the approval from the government to get the project going, and to access from there. It's much easier to access the debt or the capital from the banking system or the equity market. So I think big picture is there is demand for real estate products, whether they're mid to low income housing. There is a need to develop these assets, and if government starts to approve these projects much quicker, the banking system will provide the capital for these developers to get on with it.